Hey, Dan, it says you oppose impeachment?
I'm an independent. I've been a proud independent for 40 years.
What does that mean?
That means that I view both Republicans and Democrats with skepticism when they go to extremes.
Okay.
And I'm wondering why you don't recognize that the way, if you want independent support, go for censure.
I think that 70%. That horse has already left the stable, Dan. I mean,
yeah. Well, why didn't we? Why? And we could now. We could right now say, okay, we've recognized that the public doesn't really want this. The independents definitely don't want it, but they do want censure.
So,
we know that
Dan, if let's say Elizabeth Warren is running, as the Democratic nominee, or Bernie Sanders is the Democratic nominee next year, just for the heck of it, for the sake of conversation. And Bernie gives a speech in which he says, China, I know that you're very unhappy with Donald Trump. You don't like him. You don't like what he did with trade and all that kind of stuff. If you could, and you've got extraordinary capabilities, intelligence gathering capabilities, and spy snooping, internet and everything else. If you could send us some transcripts of Donald Trump's 5 secret phone conversations with Putin, for which there are no records at all, or if you could, because if she's running against or Bernie's running against Trump, or if you could find Trump's tax returns, I'm sure that you would be greatly rewarded. And China does that and exposes Trump as some kind of a fraud or humiliates him somehow. You think that and Bernie says, and the Republicans stand up and say, that's a crime. And Bernie says, yeah, I know, but Trump did the same thing, and he only got censured. Feel free to censure me. I don't care. I'm still in office. Is that the kind of country you want to live in?
I think, yeah, I understand what you mean.
It's a simple yes/no question, Dan.
No, you do make a point, but it's not the only point, because this is a political process, impeachment.
This is not a political process. This has nothing to do with politics. It's a constitutional process, Dan. The Constitution requires this if the president commits high crimes or misdemeanors, or bribery or treason. And I would say he's done all 4.
Those are all definitional. And those are all definitional.
I think pretty much everybody understands what bribery means. But again, if you want to split hairs, what you're doing is you're saying it's fine for Bernie Sanders to ask the Chinese to hack Republicans.
No, I didn't say that.
That is the absolute outcome. If Trump is not impeached, if he doesn't get, at the very least, this is not a hand slap. This is a punch in the face. Impeachment in the House, whether he gets removed from office in the Senate or not. And if that doesn't happen, what we are doing is we are saying to any future president, feel free. Use foreign powers to mess with our elections. That was, of all the things that the founders feared, that was the biggest. That was the absolute greatest fear they had. If you go back and look at the election of 1800, John Adams was running, who was president, was running for a second term against Thomas Jefferson. And Jefferson had lived in Paris for a couple of years as U.S. envoy to Paris. And one of Adams' attacks on Jefferson was that Jefferson had secret loyalties to the French, and that the French might be helping his election because the Marquis de Lafayette was Jefferson's very best friend. He was a French officer, and Lafayette had written some letters to people on behalf of Jefferson. On the other hand, Jefferson's hit on John Adams was that when Crispus Attucks and others were killed in the Boston Massacre, Adams, as a lawyer at that time, this is 1773, Adams defended the British soldiers. And he did it, I believe he did it without compensation. And he did it because he believed that everybody should be entitled to a defense in court. But Jefferson was saying Adams has secret loyalties to England. Adams was saying Jefferson has secret loyalties to France. And to the best of my knowledge, that election of 1800, that was so contentious and so hot. That was literally the last time, to the best of my knowledge, in American history, that any candidate for president accused another candidate for president of having divided loyalties. And you're saying if we should merely slap Donald Trump's hand. We should censure him and say, okay, it's fine to engage with a foreign power to alter the course of an election. And in fact, future presidents are encouraged to do it. Dan, if you think about that, I can't understand how you could hold that opinion as an independent.
Because you're not going to succeed. You're not going to put a stain on his record by failing to get him convicted of impeachment.
I don't think that's true.
Impeachment, yeah, that's happened before.
I do not think that's true.
Well, you won't get independents to be on your side when it's purely political. And it is purely political.
Okay. All right, Dan, I get it. You're not actually an independent. You're a Republican. It's like, oh, my God. I actually was taking this guy seriously for a couple minutes there. It's like, give me a friggin' break.